spooky bats, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi and welcome. My name's Orphea and I'm a goth YouTuber from Belgium. In today's video I want to tackle something completely different. We know there's lots of cool goth clothes that you can buy. However, I've been thinking like some of these things are super expensive, or you don't know how they're made, or you don't know how they fit. What if we started making our own goth clothing? And for this video, I actually tried to tackle one of the easiest projects there is, at least I hoped it was, and it ended up being okay. Like, I'm a beginner sewer, I have touched needle and thread before, but I'm in no ways a professional. So for this video, I'm actually recreating a Killstar skirt that is over 60 euros. Now, if we look at this skirt, we can see a few main components. First of all, it's made out of lace and mesh, so we definitely need those. And it is a design with points at the bottom that are like next to each other, so you can see the lace and you can see the mesh. This is actually called a hankerchief skirt, or the type of skirt that this is like inspired by. Now, Killstar actually makes these skirts and I have one of them, so I looked at it beforehand, and the thing that I noticed on the Killstar ones is that the points are even more dramatic than the ones on the basic handkerchief skirts. So I decided to do a slight Killstar remake of it, but it's also not like a duplicate of the Killstar skirt by any means. So the skirt I created in 1.5 to 2 hours looks like this. And it is clearly inspired by the Killstar skirt, but you can also find lots of other skirt designs that actually look like this, because this is basically a handkerchief skirt. So then what is a handkerchief skirt? A handkerchief skirt is like a square of fabric in which you cut a hole in the middle, and when it falls down it creates like a skirt with points. This is actually a double handkerchief skirt, so it's 2 layers on top of each other, which creates this really nice effect. So the things you will need to create this project as well are the following. You need 2 pieces of fabric. I used 1 lace fabric and 1 mesh fabric. You will need an elasticated waistband, mine was 3 centimeters wide, and you need thread and eventually a sewing machine or like a needle to sew it onto each other. So that's the only things you need. Now, if we compare the price of what you need to the price of Killstar, we can see that there's a big contrast. My fabrics, and I bought them at a more expensive fabric store, were 10 euros a meter. So I took the width of the fabric needs to be the same as the height of the fabric, so I couldn't go larger than that. So it's 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter. So I paid 15 euros for my mesh fabric, 15 euros for my lace fabric, and then I also paid, I think, around 2 euros for 1 meter of elasticated waistband and 3 centimeters, and thread I already had. So you could count like €1 of thread or like 10 cents of thread, because like a bobbin of thread doesn't really cost that much money. And then if we compare it to Killstar pricing for more or less the same skirt, it's over 60 euros. So you pay double the amount, but here you spend 1.5 hours making it, here you buy it directly. It's your choice to make. Now, I do want to say that the skirt that I'm making is just fabric and an elasticated waistband, and like the edges aren't finished, etc. The Killstar skirt actually has a waistband that has a tiny bit of stretch and that has a zipper. I didn't want to complicate my life, so I went for the stretch option and not for the zipper option. So then how do you actually make this skirt? First of all, you only need 1 measurement. If you just want to make it very simple, you need 1 measurement, and that is your hip width. Why your hip and not your waist? Because your skirt needs to be able to pass over your hips. And unless your hips and your waist are the exact same size, you will actually need that hip measurement. So you take that hip measurement, but it's a round measurement, and we need to convert this to a flat pattern. So what do? We divide that measurement by 2 and then by pi, which is like how you calculate like circles, circumferences and stuff. And that measurement is the measurement that we will need for the only part of the pattern that we will be creating, which is cutting out the hole at the center. So what you will do is you will take your fabric. If you buy your fabric at a fabric store, it will already be folded in 2, so it will look something like this. You will need to fold it in 2 again, so you have a square of fabric, and the middle part where all the fabric is stacked onto each other, you should have 4 layers. Pin that together so it's nice and flat against each other, and that is where you will measure the measurement of the hip circumference that you divided by 2 divided by 3.14. So that's what you will take on your measure, and you will mark in dots onto the fabric. If you have stretch fabric, you will cut a little bit less than that. like 2 inches less or like 5 centimeters less, more or less, is what you will cut off, because stretchy fabric stretches a lot more. Like I cut it exactly where I had to, and I fit 4 times into it, like if I stretched it out. Once you have done that, you will do the exact same step for the other fabric. And what you also will do is you will put pin markers on the 4 points of your skirt, so on the 2 widths and on the 2 like other sides. This is essential for the next steps of the project, so do that on both fabrics, and then you will lay them on top of each other. And if you align the pins, you should actually like make them staggered, I think it's called. Why? If you put them on top of each other the exact same way, you will have 2 layers of fabric and 2 points on top of each other. Whereas if you stagger them, you will have a point and then the other fabric peeping through beneath it. So that's actually how you want to sew them. Now I sewed it with the lace at the bottom, with the right side of the lace to the bottom of my table, and then the mesh on top. The mesh didn't really have a good or a bad side, so you will need to sew those together. That's something that I skipped. I immediately started sewing it to the elasticated waistband, but something that I would have done different. So sew those 2 parts of fabric together. Leave the markers or some sort of marker in the skirt, because now you will need to actually make your waistband and attach it to the waistband. To make your waistband, simply take the elastic, I wrapped it around my waist, took the measure and then sewed it together. What I should have done, because you can maybe tell this is very stretchy elasticated waistband, I should have actually taken it in by 5 centimeters and then sewn it in, because now it is super loose on my waist and it just slides down. So make sure that you take off a few centimeters at least from that waistband and then sew it shut. So I overlapped it, I sewed that part, and then I finished it off by just doing a zigzag stitch over both edges. Then you will take your fabrics that you've sewn together. And how will you stack them? So I will quickly show you on here. So what I have is the bottom layer that I was sewing, like this more or less. So the bottom layer is actually the elasticated waistband. The layer on top is your lace fabric with the right side toward the bottom, and then on top is the mesh fabric. So like this, you will sew it. So you will have elastic, lace, mesh. And the lace, you want the right side to face down. So you will see that I have sewn pretty much close to the edge of the waistband. So I took about 1 centimeter width from that side of the waistband. I hope you can tell from what I'm doing with the sewing machine, because it's quite difficult to explain. And when you're done, you actually just flip it inside out, and then you have this nice finished edge on the outside of the skirt, what you actually will be wearing and seeing when you wear it. Now, because I'm using stretchy fabrics, I simply cut them and sew them. But if you're using non-stretchy fabrics, you will actually need to hem the skirt. So if you need to hem it, then please do so, because otherwise it will start to unravel, unless you like that look, of course. But this is basically how you make handkerchief skirt. And if you're using just the basic like square method, it will not look exactly like the one I made and not exactly like the one Killstar has. Why? Because we make the points more exaggerated. Now, to make this work, you actually need to adjust your pattern slightly. You can see how I'm doing it here. And if you want it even more dramatic, like Killstar actually makes their skirts out of 2 parts instead of 1 full part. So they make 2 really dramatic points and then high up, and then a dramatic point again, and then they sew 2 pieces together. Why? Because otherwise the fabric doesn't allow for this, because it's actually like longer measurements. I really hope that this makes sense. So this is what the skirt looks like after I'm done with it. I definitely will be wearing it, even though it's a little bit too big on me. So what will I do to fix it? I am definitely not going to take it apart. I will be making a version 2.0 of this in the future. But what I'm gonna do for now is I'm just gonna take a safety pin and just pin it in the back. So what I will do is I just take 2 parts, put the safety pin in so it's a little bit smaller, and then this will just hang from the back. But since I wear tops on top of it, you don't really see it anyway. I hope this video helps you if you are looking to make your own clothing. Now, of course, you can make this for cheaper if you can find cheaper fabrics. Personally, this is what I had available to me, like around me in physical stores. And I do recommend to actually buy your fabrics in physical stores and not online, because online you don't know what you will have. You don't know how soft it is, how scratchy it is, etc. So go to a fabric store, pick out 2 fabrics that you like, and feel free to recreate this as well. I had a lot of fun making this very first DIY goth clothing project. I am really stoked with how it turned out and I'm already working on the next one. If you have anything that you would like to see me try to recreate, I'm not gonna promise it's gonna work, but I wanna try, then let me know in a comment down below or send me a message on Instagram. On Instagram you can also link me to the piece or link me to wherever you find. I do have a few more projects lined up for this, so I have a few things I'm already working on and I'm super excited to see how this goes. If you enjoyed this video, of course, give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to leave me a comment letting me know what I should make in the future. Thank you again so much for watching and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!